Learned helplessness is a useful concept to understand, and I think the best analogy is of how circus animals are trained. So, for example, elephants, when they are young, are tied to a stake by a rope. And basically, every time they try to pull on the rope, they're unable to break it, to break free. So they learn to live within a certain leash of this stake, a certain circle around it. And the thing is, as the elephant grows, it gets stronger and stronger, but it doesn't realize it. So even a completely grown adult elephant is being held in the ground by a stake that could only hold a baby elephant and a rope. It could easily break free, but it doesn't try because it already tried as a child, and it gave up because it learned it could never succeed. Now, we have the same issue as human beings, but it's not as obvious as a stake in the ground. Instead, it can be things like, as a child, if you could never verbalize or articulate your needs to your parents, or they never listen to you properly, then as an adult, you basically learn to never talk about what you need. So you assume that nobody will listen to you, you assume you'll be ignored, even if you won't, and thus you become helpless at communicating what you need. This applies to all sorts of things. So people who struggle in school, they grow up thinking that they are incapable of learning, so they don't make as much of an effort later on in life, and it becomes a kind of self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's the worst part about learned helplessness, is it becomes a vicious cycle of its own. So whatever the thing is you've been conditioned to believe you cannot learn or cannot do, you only get worse at it later on simply because you never actually try to get better. Or, like the elephant, you may be really good at it, but you never find out. You never get a chance to find out because you don't try. Because you just assume, well, you're going to fail anyway, so what's the point in trying? So, the best workaround or solution to this that I found is to reevaluate or reassess your skills every so often. And if something seems like you can't do it, and it's obviously safe to try, you might as well try, right? You can also put yourself out there. You can ask for help. You can try to get an independent assessment, right? Like ask someone to judge your skills at something. Um, Take an online test, whatever it takes, right? But basically, the idea is how do you break yourself from the pattern of assuming that you don't know how to do whatever it might be, right? Or how do you take the first step towards facing the fear of whatever it might be, right? Like, do you raise your hand in a college class and ask a question despite having been conditioned to feel like asking questions in class is a really bad thing to do, for example? Or do you talk to that stranger and say hi despite feeling conditioned from childhood that, saying hi to strangers is a quick route to rejection and pain? Whatever it might be, it's worth identifying where are the places where you've basically assumed you will never be successful, and how can you take one small step to find out if you are wrong.